Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and welcome back to Overpaint, which means I go through my Patreon page and check out all the submissions you guys sent to me during January, trying to give you guys some advice and maybe fix something. Now, there's a lot of submissions this month, so I decided to split this whole thing into probably 3 parts. So look forward to a lot of Overpaint episodes this month, hopefully in the first half of it or something, I don't know. But yeah, let's go. First patient is Basya Art. Hi Basya. Hi Boro. I've been watching your Overpaint videos for so long and I feel like half of my artistic knowledge comes from them. So thank you for that. I thought I could learn even more if you do an Overpaint of my work. I specialize in portraits, but I'd love to be able to create more complex illustrations. Here is my attempt to paint from imagination instead of just doing photo studies. I used a ref only for the pose. My biggest struggle is to figure out the lighting so that everything looks correct. I also feel like this piece is lacking something overall. Thanks in advance, Basya. So let's start from the start. Not to say that this is like wrong or anything, but I feel like a picture could use some space horizontally. Like it's almost nothing, you may not even pay attention to this. It's not a mistake, but I feel like maybe this way it would be a bit better. I feel like many pictures these days, like they're made on mobile devices, maybe a tablet of sorts, and like not necessarily an iPad that has a 4:3 closer to a square kind of proportions. And so if this was like an Android tablet or maybe some kind of device that, you know, you can use vertically, and it probably had like 16:9 ratio of the display, and that's why many paintings that are being submitted are of this very narrow ratio. Like it was really narrow. It feels like our character here really felt a little bit claustrophobic in that super narrow hallway of a canvas. That's why I decided to make it a bit wider. Now, you mentioned lighting specifically. Overall, by the way, I really like the character, the expression. There's real like personality, a bit of a dark, maybe struggling kind of character. Really cool. It reads well, while it's obviously like a very specific girl portrait kind of situation, but it definitely has some personality in there, so that's cool. Overall, it really feels solid in the way it's performed, you know, the way it's put together. But with lighting, let's just go through the picture a little bit and, you know, see what I can really improve. One thing I really feel like doing is adding a shadow. We definitely have this light going from the top and it's casting a shadow here and here, so we're definitely seeing this kind of direction here. So we need to cast the same kind of shadow from here. And I'm not sure why there was so much like boldness in there. Maybe it was like a special kind of hairstyle that would kind of, you know, support the slightly twisted and this dark kind of character. Like they're a bit of a brainiac or something, you know, with this kind of look a little bit. But if we talk about, you know, the realistic lighting, it definitely broke the feeling of proper, consistent light shooting at the character from the top, because why would that area be so bright? It would definitely never happen. So at least like this is already a huge deal. We really don't want to go back from that, I think. And yeah, I'll maybe put some more consistency in that regard in here, so this part of the forehead probably doesn't have a lot of reasons to get darker. Now, I'm not sure about this. It feels like it may have come from a reference, this sharp line of the shadow. Or maybe, you know, from your experience with references, because you do portraits, you know how things go on human skin sometimes. Like the shadow may get really sharp in this kind of area, but I feel like it really would just work out much better if we would tone it down a bit. Also in here there was kind of like a very light spot out of nowhere. You know, why is it brighter, since obviously the cheek is curving downwards? So let's just make it all consistently going darker. Now, if I make this gradient too strong, like too deep, like very rich, like I spread it even further, it would look really metallic because of that, and we don't want that. So let's make sure some kind of, you know, hint at the Terminator should still happen, but it shouldn't feel like the cheek suddenly goes like this. in the middle of it. I'll definitely tone it down in here as well. Maybe it's just, quick brushwork or something, but it feels like it should definitely be smoothed out. Also, these kind of wrinkles, a little bit, maybe they have an expression, but that's me coming up with things already. A little bit stronger emphasis, like they mean it now, not just being whatever busy. I'm on the phone, hold up. But actually like maybe attacking or something like that. So little wrinkles like that, just reacting to the lighting from the top. Also, I'm seeing a little hint on that already. I feel like we can slightly increase that effect, like the reflected light from the cheek, from the nose, from the fingers, whatever, on the bottom plane of the eyelid in here, and also this part. Adding some sharper highlights and definition on the eyeballs, which is, I gotta say, like, I haven't noticed it right away. It's not like it's super missing or anything, but since this is a portrait, a bit more specific, sharp definition on the parts that matter the most, Little details like the maybe emotional wrinkles, specifically the details of the eyes, so we would see that stare, that hypnotizing stare, and that damn smile really well, so it would actually look at us right from the canvas, Because that's the kind of stuff that really matters in the portrait. You look at the character, at what they're about, and that slight extra definition there would definitely work well. I want to go ahead and remove this bright light in here, and actually go with what you have going on this eye on the left, just because this would work. It's kind of interesting. So black line is eyelashes, right? And white line is the top plane of the eyelid, right? So that goes inside in the direct contact with the eyeball. So these should be like the other way around. First the upper plane of the eyelid, then the eyelashes. But I feel like it's more of this is like an outline of just the eye, and then you didn't really put things in a correct order or anything. So generally the bright line at the top makes sense for sure, especially if some light is hitting it, which is definitely possible. I can see you really have a lot of good thinking with like thinking about the angles of the light and everything. I feel like Contact Shadows actually has it, like this and that, like angles, consistent, everything, like totally, like you really watched a lot of Overpaint probably. Not that I take credit for any decent work with lighting. Maybe you knew it yourself, whatever. But you mentioned that you watch a lot, so I'm just seeing like specifically my strategies of like looking for the first thing that I noticed usually. They're actually taken care of, which is interesting. I'm not sure what this line is. It's more of a like eyelashes are supposed to go here, so this is like a line, like a wrinkle probably. So yeah, about that upper plane, let's go with this bright color and add it right over there. But it should be like careful, because in here we define things with lower contrast in a way. And what's interesting, the eyeball should be actually darker here, because the eyeball itself is not in the light, in this direct light I mean, but the eyelash is catching a little bit of it. So maybe something like this, and then going back into the dark. And yeah, one thing I'm really, I feel like I'm adding that. You generally have like this sketchy approach, which I do find really cool in regards of, it's consistent, it feels natural with going from low detail to high detail. But one thing that this character could use, or any character, is like thinking on shapes of each of your brushstroke more carefully to really, work on this design of supporting the shape for going for certain dynamics. You see, you have like a lot of small brushwork going on, and I would try to support, you know, the dynamics of shapes, like what kind of simple forms it could be going for. And as I mentioned in my videos when I discovered shape design and everything, what's interesting about it when you really try it yourself, at first, it feels like you're going for simplification, maybe stylization, like it's gonna be not realistic as something cartoonish. But if you really try it, you'll notice that it's not at all true. What's interesting is that you start with the simplified shape, defining that dynamics and everything, after which nothing is stopping you from adding as much detail as you want. By just keep doing that and breaking the big and strong dynamics into smaller and smaller, more realistic features of anatomy and the play of light on the surface, which will easily make it realistic. It's just about how much you know of what needs to be added. But if the base is having strong dynamics and shape design, it's automatically a good look. Already, you can stop at any point. So I feel like this idea, like really paying attention to the shape design and really like going with more simplified, beautiful shapes that are clean and showing the like what you mean by the whole thing, you know, by each stroke. That will improve your whole quick brushwork game even more, because you will be able to stop at any point and it will look much more finalized, like the details in the back. If you would be thinking about some kind of cool shapes and how they support overall, although you did in terms of just compositions and spots, but really how you just put these spots on the canvas, how exactly you do it with your brush. That stuff is the only thing that stands between I still need to work more on that or whatever, I can keep it and not touch it anymore because it's already looking cool even though it's just 3 brush strokes. And yeah, same thing goes for like arms in here. They look like good, they're decent. The only thing is this one is definitely longer than this one, and I don't seem to find any excuse for that. So I will probably raise this elbow like this at least. But overall, they also feel like a bit blank, you know, this gradient in here. It feels like it keeps going and going, partially because this forearm is a bit too long, but also because there's no meaningful shape design in there. You need to provide some interesting brush strokes that would be strong and big, so the simple shape wouldn't seem too big for these brush strokes. You need to, you know, acknowledge the fact that this is a big shape with a big brush stroke. After that, you can add smaller ones on top, but you need to define that strong, confident dynamic that this is it. Yes, it's a simple shape, and I mean it. So yeah, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. So break it down. Like imagine it's a smaller thing or something, you know? Just bigger stuff. It will look not exactly realistic right away, like something that looks like it's made of wood or whatever. It doesn't matter. The important part is to dictate, to translate the shape into something that makes sense. So yeah, if any of you guys are watching this and you want to hear more about the shape design part and how I specifically like illustrated, you can watch the video that's over there. It will probably appear earlier. But yeah, about the whole shape design, where I do the portrait of a man with curly hair. I wonder if these black lines on the forearms, are these... They're not hair. Hair is white, so this one is just kind of like laces. Their design is also like gonna think about a little bit. I'm not even gonna specifically change anything that you could describe with words. I'll just repaint them exactly the same way, but they're gonna look different just in terms of the brushwork. So yeah, I changed this one a little bit. First of all, to avoid the repeating pattern so they wouldn't be literally identical. And secondly, we have an elbow in there, so the arm is bending here like this. So if this lace is going there, it should start curving up. So I'm gonna keep it like this. So yeah, let's define some of the values in here. So these knuckles, they're definitely facing the light a lot more. And overall, I wanted to say about the brushwork on the hair, like this is the exact same example as it was everywhere else in terms of shape design, right? So this is quick brushwork here. But like if you would do something like this, this was also fast, really fast. It's just you can count the amount of brush strokes. But this is not a final product, and this can be a final product. That's kind of the point. Just a little extra effort, like make sure you don't just put some random blobs on the canvas, but really like think about everything. Even if it's not just think about the final shape of the actual object that's in your head, but what is actually being put on the canvas right now. Because what people will see in the end is the brush strokes, not the pixel perfect rendering of the shape, you know? So you need to work, you need to acknowledge the fact that there are brush strokes and they need to look final. No matter if you're only starting this picture or this is the final brushwork, it should always look like it's final. Now there's this rim lighting going on a little bit, and I feel like it doesn't have a lot of reason to happen on certain areas. Like in here, I would really rather support the feeling of this hand, you know, going underneath this hair a little bit, like it's hovering over it. And therefore it will go like the opposite, it will go like deeply darker. I would also, since I'm adding some lighting on the arm after I added the laces, which is kind of a mistake, I should have defined, you know, all these big shadow brush strokes before I added the laces, or maybe laces should have been in a separate layer. But since I'm doing all of that, you know, I have to work around the laces. Maybe we should define a little bit of this, you know, pressure on the skin from the laces, this kind of stuff. Yeah, also the whole rim lighting thing in here, pretty much gonna remove it for the same reason as on the arm and in there. We could think a little bit about adding a brighter spot on the cheek because the light is reflected in here, but if anything, I would probably add it a little bit in here. Fixing the shape of the palm a little bit here seems a bit off. So yeah, something like that. Pretty much I showed it on the main part of the picture, but the second arm and pretty much everything else could be worked on the same way. Just rethinking the shape with a simpler, more dynamic stroke, and really working with like introducing careful gradients like this, you know, to work with that instead of just these sharp blobs that are just like spots. So yeah, this is it. This is what we got. Second patient is Vantikay. Hi Vantikay. Hello Burrow. I've been watching your videos for around 4 years now, and I finally decided to join your Patreon. Thank you very much for your support. I love your videos and was inspired to take up digital painting because of them. Anyway, this here is the highest quality painting I've made so far. The inspiration for it was a picture of an ibis bird, which when I saw it, I thought, this would look cool as a wizard. Yeah. The part I struggled with the most was the shadow of the bird, which took several attempts to make it look okay. There may also be some mistakes with the rendering, such as how the light shines through the feathers. I made this in Krita, my painting software of choice. Thanks. Well then, TK, let's have a look. Very interesting combination of features. These are like almost human feet in here. And I really like how the hat is like just floating on top of his head, which is kind of cool looking. You don't even think about it at first, but then like, it's kind of not really touching his head at all, which is cool. A wizard can totally do that. So yeah, let's see about the shadow on the clouds. I assume it's on the clouds, right? Yeah, it's like he's flying above the clouds. Now, I really think we need to approach this shadow differently. Let me try to start over in here completely. I'll save the color though. Now, the thing with the clouds is that they are not flat, generally, you know? Therefore, you need to probably work a lot more with the shape of the clouds rather than with the shape of the shadow, because it's not supposed to be super clearly readable anyway. Like, it's not a floor. So you see, I'm working, like I'm repeating the shape of our guy here, of our wizard, but I'm doing that over these puffy shapes of the clouds. And maybe if we're like really close here, maybe I would keep it a bit sharper, but not too much because they're transparent as well. And you know what? If I'm thought of it wrong and this is actually snow, same thing actually. Like making a perfectly clear shadow on a perfectly flat surface, we could do that. The best way to add a base for that would probably be just briefly selecting the whole thing and just squishing and skewing it on the floor and then just working with the brushwork over it if you really need the clean flat surface look. But I feel like that's not what you need here at all. And that may have been the main problem. You really wanted to work on the shadow when really you needed to work on the surface. Like I'm seeing a lot of curvy patterns around the shadow, so I assume even if this is snow, it's pretty curvy there as well. So if anything, this works more as a snow right now because with clouds, really, you need to go like, you know, transparent. It should go like inside and all that. So in that case, I would even like add a lot of this semi-color and bring it down kind of like that. This is probably gonna be all fuzzy like that. Something like that, but then cover it up to make more confident. And I would let in a little bit of light in here, like this. It seems like this part could do that, so it would read a bit better. There you go, that's a shadow from a bird on the snow and or clouds. Also, to avoid this super flat color in here, just a little bit of some kind of shading action, kinda like that. Now, about the translucency of the feathers, this is an interesting subject. And overall, I gotta say, I really like the picture. Everything about it is done really well. Like maybe a bit too boring, you know, pattern of the mountains, I would fix that. But like one thing overall I would fix is the same thing that I mostly fixed in the previous submission, meaning shapes. Just think about shapes better. If you want to hear me talking more about it, watch the first submission, but I feel like just working on shapes a bit better, removing boring patterns and meaningless even things, you know, with going a bit more dynamic shapes so lightning would really look. You just go ahead and add that speed of the brushwork to show that this lightning is really fast. Otherwise, it might have been branches if you think about it when they're so like slow and careful, like veins maybe. You see, like this is looking very different. It's very powerful. So that's just shapes. I didn't change anything else. It's the same colors and everything. It's just the shape is following that dynamics. Now, I want to talk about the translucency of the feather, which is one thing, aside from like shape design, that I think is really interesting here. Yeah, by the way, mountains, they can totally, one of them could be here. Not all of them need to be in one row just over there. So just add one of them kind of like this. That'll already break a lot of boring stuff about it. But back to the feathers. I would go ahead and try to really darken the sky and reverse the contrast between the feather and the sky. This is legit what's happening a lot. If you look up and you look at a white bird that's being translucent on the sunlight, it will be brighter than the sky. Sky is just blue. If you look at bright things in the, bright daylight, a lot of the times, things are a lot brighter than the sky. Sky doesn't have to be the brightest thing ever. Like, we have overexposed snow or clouds at the bottom, and I think this super white bird could really be brighter than the sky as well. Probably a bit of a strange design of feathers at this tip of the wing. I think it should be a bit more like one specific main feather should be the longest, the furthest one, and that's it. I think that's the way wings usually go, but that's of course more about references and everything. So let's see. Let's actually just use a fast digital approach for that. I'll just apply curves on the burb and on everything else. And we want to bring the sky darker, probably without increasing contrast. Definitely need to bring this back, and a lot of things. Actually, that's probably... we kind of need to select the sky separately because the snow, again, it's in the sunlight. The only thing I'll have to probably repaint or something would be the lightning. So kind of like this here and kind of like this here. Immediately noticing that I missed this part. See? This is looking much more photorealistic right now than this. This is looking weird. Like, this is a dark gray bird, maybe? And this is a white bird. Now, maybe slightly dull sky right now, but you can see we have some room to, maybe make it brighter. It's like it needs to be more saturated. It's just about the specific color. But I think the brightness overall is totally fine. Kind of like this, really saturated. I'm increasing the contrast this way, and it's getting much more saturated and alive. While the bird is definitely, that's like the thing. A lot of the times, really ask yourself, which direction of the contrast is actually making sense at the moment. Sometimes things can really just work much better reversed. Oh my god, I'm liking it so much now. Like, this is looking so cool. Very satisfying fix. So yeah, I'll just erase the mask for the lightning like this. Translucency is like almost showing the lit surface of the object in the sun. Not really, it should be darker than the snow at the bottom, because this is the direct light. This is going through some material, losing a lot of brightness, is reflecting back up a lot of it, so this should definitely be darker than this, and it is. And yeah, I don't know, I would probably add some details in here. Maybe overall just bring it darker. It became kind of gray when I just curved it up. Having such strong vibes from Raiden here. Yeah, the hat also did a cool transformation. Like a little hint on translucency in here now makes a bit more impact. But the main importance here is the top plane. It's confidently brighter than the sky right now. And in the original, it was sometimes like getting a bit too close in the value with the sky, and that didn't look so good, like it was sort of losing the outline a little bit. Like, it was definitely readable, but this is a much stronger silhouette that's consistent with the rest of the bird, Looks really cool in that regard. So yeah, I guess that'll be it. Otherwise, really cool picture, just polishing it up, making sure you pay attention to the shape design with this bright sunlit translucent bird. It looks absolutely amazing. So hope this helps, and hope you'll maybe finish this picture with this kind of fix, or maybe start a new one. I don't know, do whatever you want. Next and final patient for today is Ilva Winter. Hi Ilva. Hey ya, Boro. So I'm really happy with this piece overall. It's still sort of work in progress though. I can't decide whether or not I should render it or leave it like this. I think we could definitely make it a bit more striking. So that would be cool. Now, I said I liked this piece, but I'm really unsure about the lighting and shadows. It feels like such an unappealing color palette to me, but I usually prefer working with warmer colors and I almost never use green shades for shading. But since this scene is set in Zaun, a city that is known for its overall shady and green vibe, I wanted to challenge myself and try it. I think it turned out okay, but I just think it looks a bit muddy. The VFX lighting part I'm also not so sure about. Yeah, that part. She uses green lightning, but it felt a bit weird to splatter neon green everywhere, so I went with a bit of a more neutral blue. But I think the value is off. I can't tell if it's bright enough or not. I also don't usually paint VFX, like lightning or sparks. So if you could help me out with those points, it would be amazing. Thanks again for all you're doing. Ilva. Yeah, let's see. Will be a bit hard to work with this since this is such a clean multi-layer art style and I have it all just in one layer. But let's see what we can do. The drawing, I look at it, I love it so much. It looks so professional and interesting, just storytelling kind of look. So cool. But this lightning VFX, as you called it, it really has an issue of, first of all, having a blurry blob right on top of the character in the middle. It's like an obstruction. It's hard to see, like there's something with my eyes. I'm really not sure how to remove it though. Let's just start doing that, at least in a drafty way, so I would be able to at least give a hint on what I mean with bigger spots or something, I don't know. So yeah, have nothing to say about lighting specifically, like anime style flat looking lighting is totally awesome looking, at least from my perspective, you know? But like I was wondering, this light is just coming from the right, I think, right? It's not like from the lightning, since this right here is being lit from somewhere over there. And since the lightning is kind of blue, so it's not actually that. Generally a good call on making the lightning of different color because we already have like everything in shades of green. If we would also have green lightning, it would all look too much like that. Okay, you know what? It'll be kind of hard to remove everything, but I'll just do a super messy work doing that. I really think we need to deal with the lightning first and maybe last, like, I don't know. Okay, kind of done, although it looks pretty bad. Now, I'm not sure, there's no way you don't know about, like, maybe color dodge or linear dodge. So let's start with that. Probably these colors would just work better. You could make them darker, so less intense, but nonetheless, they're always gonna be brighter thanks to the linear dodge blending mode. Thing is, you painted everything in what seems to be just normal blending mode, and because of that, it works more like a fog than anything, because it's not actually brighten up everything. Since lightning is a phenomena that's really, really bright, it's pretty much always overexposed for any camera, any eye. So when you visualize it, it needs to be pretty much an overexposed piece. And to do that, you use these lighting up modes. That's kind of the nature of it. That's why these things are used like that. And yeah, another thing I would go with here is really about the way we put the lightning in the shot. A lot of lightnings today, isn't it? But yeah, I can see you kind of went for a certain, like, this framing shape of this lightning right here. But the problem is, in here, these lightnings are gonna be really close to the camera. So doing something like this, like much bigger and simpler. I feel like that's what we need here. Not going with too much complexity. Complexity you can introduce like behind the arm, for instance. That's where it should be a bit more complex, because that's further away and it's not busy in there. We can do whatever we want in there. But in here, we need to show just the dynamics, the perspective, and not ruin the character, not to cover them up too much. So yeah, this is the important rule, same as when you paint landscapes, you know, when you paint the ground really close to the camera, make sure you do this kind of really big, simple, stretching details. So this is the same kind of situation. Then I would probably duplicate the layer and maybe add a core that would be even brighter. So I'm using the same color, just doing it twice. And I think if we go several times, we can reach like white color. There you go, you see, super bright. So if you want to achieve that, just duplicate the layer a whole lot of times. Then you can merge them together, but keep them in your blending mode of choice. And yeah, you had like this soft look of them, right? A soft brushwork. I didn't think of that. Maybe this could totally work as well. Maybe I can just add it right now as like just a glow. But this is an option as well. Like it doesn't have to be sharp the way I did it, especially in here when it's close, right? But this is a different story. I'm adding just a glow. In your case, it was soft shapes. So something like that. Maybe this is not a perfect shape. Really, like when it's such a big and bright shape, it kind of affects or makes the whole composition. So yeah, you see, I'm merging them. They're changing a bit, but not too much, you know? Maybe just put them all together and keep working like this. Only now you're gonna get darker, so I'm not sure. I feel weird, like I think you know all this. Why didn't you use it? That's what I feel this whole time. I know, a sharp spark from the finger where it comes out of. So yeah, something like that. One thing I would maybe add as well is increase the brightness on the floor, because like all the structures and walls around the character, they're like far away. It seems like some kind of dystopian underworld, as you mentioned, is a certain specific place from some kind of fantasy world or something, and it seems like it's pretty grim. So what I'm trying to say is the light from the lightning wouldn't reach those distant walls, but it would reach the floor a little bit like this. I probably wouldn't do it consistently. It should look more like it's lighting up the floor, especially in the front. We can go a little bit more confident with it. So in here like this, and like a line right there. It will support the shape a little bit. Maybe we can even go ahead and light up some aerial perspective behind all of this going on. One thing we're also missing kind of is, you know, I'm adding a lot of lighting on the floor, but there's no real lighting going on the character themselves, right? Like they're the closest to the lightning, so maybe that would make a lot of sense to add as well, but who knows? So yeah, just a little bit of that like this. Maybe that's the part where we should add green, actually. I don't know, since this is the green world. You know, it's about finding good combinations of what works and not. Usually, you know, if you want to make any color work, if you don't like it, you don't have a lot of ideas about it, green works great with these colors. So, you know, maybe the lightning could be this color. Maybe that's too much, and it seems like, you know, a violet lightning would be something very specific about the character. Maybe this tank top could be that color, and generally it would make the whole world work a bit better. But you see how this color really resonates with green. So whatever that means, maybe her lipstick and the glove could be that color. Generally, somehow add these touches of this color to the character. It's all about how much restrictions you have in terms of the design of this character. Is this a consistent character or not? Probably is. But yeah, I would definitely go for something complementary here. So yeah, I guess that's what I have to say. You have an amazing, incredible design of the character, and their line art is really awesome. And I'm just trying to make sure it's not brought down too much with lightning, you know, it should support it and also have this confident shape design. And, you know, the strong perspective effect is really helping it as well. So I think this is a cool thing. And yeah, some glows to support the character. It kind of went messy, somewhere blue, somewhere green, but it is just some ideas in terms of what really matters in terms of green world or blue lightning lighting up things, I don't know. It seems a bit weird that you went with just this green lighting on the character when you probably were planning that this is gonna be a character that's shooting a lighting, so shouldn't this be a pretty strong light source for the lighting on the character? So maybe most of the lighting should have been specifically blue, and the green stuff may way better work as a rim lighting in the back, so you add that in the back. Well, here we have the blue lighting on the character from the lightning, so it would be that way. But I feel like I have no chances in actually painting over this artwork and changing all the lighting like this. But yeah, this is the good way to show, you know, we would have a decent contrast of green world and this character that's doing their own blue lightning thing. But again, like, maybe it was an afterthought. You tried the green lightning first, that's why it wasn't working that well. And again, maybe going with like this color of the lightning and therefore lighting on the character would maybe work really well, because this would be just the perfect contrast between the green world and our character that sort of, I'm not sure, do they belong here or not? They do have a green lighting, as you said, so it's all confusing, but here's a bunch of ideas, you know? I would probably go with this kind of lighting sandwich situation with a dark line in between that would separate different colors of light, and we would have, you know, good effective lighting from the lightning and nice and clean lighting showing that the environment is green. So there's that. Alright, so for now this is it. Really great start, really nice submissions. Loved working with that. Interesting little work with the details and the starter of the conversation on the shape design with our submission from Bastia. Then a really exciting to me fix with inverting the contrast on the whole character in the contrast with the sky, as well as, you know, thoughts on how to project a shadow on a complex surface. And finally here, a whole lot of experiments and thoughts on how to make the effects work and make the combinations of colors work with green, this gross green. I mean, you can find good context for any color. Green, like our world is green with all the leaves and such. But yeah, I do admit this is a huge topic to really like think about how to make any combination of colors work. And specifically when one of the colors is supposed to be the lighting color, like green light. That's quite a puzzle there. But yeah, if we would go in here with like green world and green lightning, I would probably make the world cold green and the lightning warm green, because green is like the widest color. So many colors can be called green, the biggest range of colors in here. So you can really make the complementary situation here, like almost cyan with almost yellow. It would look pretty cool. And just a drop of this color, still recommending that. But anyway, this is it. Thank you guys for your submissions, really awesome. If any of you guys want me to overpaint your picture like this, the link to my Patreon page is in the end of this video. You become my patron in the overpaint tier, submit your picture with a message, I read the message and overpaint the picture. But for now, this is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Interesting change with the eyes. This one is like, oh, she's a bit like puffy, bloated, maybe she just woke up, a bit grumpy. And this one is like, ooh, I would not mess with her. Those eyes, they can kill.